Welcome to WEFM's 3 p.m. news. I am your presenter, Jessica Klein. First, on the local scene. A loan agreement was signed in Washington, D.C. between the Saudi Development Fund and the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Camilo Gonzalez. This agreement aims to support significant infrastructure enhancements in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, focusing on housing, citizen security, education, and the rehabilitation and reconstruction of health centers. Camilo Gonzalez, the Minister of Finance, Economic Planning, and Information Technology of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who led the second meeting of the Commonwealth Small States Advocacy Champions at the World Bank and International Monetary Fund meetings in Washington, D.C., highlighted the Commonwealth's efforts in bringing nations together to discuss challenges, solutions, and enhance advocacy initiatives. During the meeting, critical topics such as debt, vulnerabilities, and sustainable development strategies for small states were addressed. The former doctor's quarters in Cedars is scheduled for renovation to accommodate more healthcare services in South Wynwood. During an interview with the API, Honorable Frederick Stevenson, the area representative for South Wynwood, shared that the current three-bedroom structure will be upgraded to include 6 self-contained living spaces for medical staff and an extra area for patient consultants. Residents of Cedars, Reeves Flat, Bridgetown, Greggs, and nearby areas will soon have access to improved healthcare services without needing to travel as far as the Modern Medical Diagnostic Center in Georgetown. Stevenson highlighted that the expansive land previously included a separate living space for a housemaid and a structure housing residents who currently manage the land, which will be repurposed in the future. Still on the local scene, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, as promised, has reached out to leaders worldwide to highlight the World Bank's impending changes that will impact small developing nations like St. Vincent and the Grenadines and others. During an interview on NBC Radio on March 20th, 2024, the Prime Minister mentioned a World Bank document revealing adjustments in the International Development Association's loan terms. These changes will make loans less advantageous for SVG and similar borrowing member states, with doubled interest rates and shorter repayment periods. Dr. Gonsalves vowed to challenge these modifications, stating his intention to contact every world leader about this issue. Expressing concern over the removal of concessional terms, the Prime Minister criticized the IDA for complicating livelihoods, and production for developing nations, particularly in the Caribbean. He suggested that developed countries within the IDA should amplify their contribution instead of implementing these measures. Once implemented next year, loans acquired by countries like St. Vincent and the Grenadines from the World Bank will become less advantageous, as emphasized by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister also noted that the people of SVG are not responsible for climate change and make no contribution to its harmful effects. However, money is needed to help mitigate its effects by constructing sea and river defenses in vulnerable communities. Still on the regional scene, RBC Royal Bank Barbados Limited has raised $100,000 for students at the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus during the 8th edition of the RBC Race for the Kids, RFTK, over the weekend. Over 1,600 participants took part in the event, with some running the 5K course, while others walked or skated at their own pace. The funds rose from the event support the UE Cave Hill campus, specifically going towards bursaries and the first-year program at the university. This year, a portion of the proceeds will be allocated to developing a mental health app for students. RBC's Managing Director for Barbados, Shimon McIntosh, expressed satisfaction with the event's turnout, emphasizing RFTK's mission of uplifting others and supporting youth and education. Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal of the UE Cave Hill campus, Professor Clive Landis, expressed gratitude for hosting the event, which supports student scholarships. The event featured entertainment, warm-up and cool-down exercises, giveaways, and a lively atmosphere with various activities for participants and spectators. The top three winners in the categories of runners, walkers, and skaters were awarded prizes. The event was sponsored by various organizations, including RBC Capital Markets, Hilton Barbados Resorts, and others, with special recognition given to all sponsors and contributors. RBC Race for the Kids is a global series of charitable running events supporting children and youth causes, with races held in multiple international locations annually, including Barbados, the Cayman Islands, and Trinidad and Tobago. The H5N1 bird flu virus strain has been found in high concentrations in raw milk from infected animals, as stated by the WHO on Friday. The duration the virus remains viable in milk is presently unknown. Since its emergence in 1996, avian influenza H5N1 has seen a significant rise in outbreaks among birds, with a growing number of mammals being impacted since 2020. This outbreak has resulted in the deaths of millions of poultry, affecting not only wild birds but also land and marine mammals. Unexpectedly, cows and goats were added to the affected list last month, a surprising development as they were previously believed to be immune to this strain of influenza. In a recent incident, a person in Texas who worked on a dairy farm contracted bird flu but is now recovering. This marks the second case of humans testing positive for bird flu in the United States following exposure to infected cattle that were in contact with wild birds. This recent spread of the virus to a variety of cattle herds across multiple U.S. states signifies a significant transmission of the virus to mammals, as noted by Zhang. Although raw milk from infected animals has shown a high virus concentration, investigations are ongoing to determine the virus's longevity in milk. Finally, on the international scene, the extent of medical trials conducted on children in the 1970s and 80s using infected blood products has been uncovered through documents reviewed by the BBC News. These documents uncover a hidden realm of risky clinical experiments involving children in the United Kingdom, where research objectives took precedence over the well-being of patients. These trials spanned for over 15 years and impacted hundreds of individuals, as well as led to the infection of most participants with hepatitis C and HIV. A surviving patient described feeling like a guinea pig during the experiments. Children with blood clotting disorders were involved in the trials without proper consent from their families, leading to the unfortunate deaths of many of the participants. Despite the known contamination risk, doctors in hemophilia centers nationwide administered blood products from the US sourced from high-risk donors like prisoners and drug users. Factor 8, a blood product used to stop bleeding effectively, was recognized for its contamination with viruses. A public inquiry is currently investigating this scandal, with the final report scheduled for release in May 2024. This has been WEFM's 3 p.m. news. I have been your presenter, Jessica Klein. Join us again at 5:30 p.m. for WEFM's evening news, and we thank you for listening.